Well, it's a day after Thanksgiving, and I was doing some face grinding on these squares that I've already got the orders for them, so I need to get them out. And I promised them before Christmas. But while I was at it, a lot of these operations on the little squares that I make are going to be similar to what I need to do here. And these are some squares that came in from Keith Rucker. I think he eBayed them. They've got a lot of corrosion on them, and one of the hypotenuse hasn't been ground. That's just looks like a mill finish there. It's even got a number stamped in at 1060, whatever that means. And it's much the same on this one. Same number, 1060. So I don't know what the 1060 represents. And they've got them all the way out. It's got some bad chips in these corners. Big old chip there. So I'm going to start with a face grind. You know, I was face grinding these old fellows over here. So I thought I'd go ahead and throw this on the plate and we'll knock off all this corrosion. These actually don't. He said they had no nominal size. So we'll see what they measure 656. So that maybe they started out as 3/4 inch stock or something. But see how close these are to each other. Oh, that's 808. So this one's a lot thicker. So yeah, they don't really have a dimension. So I'm just going to clean up both sides of them here, and when I go to do my angles on the little squares, we're going to we'll go ahead and do the 45s and stuff and get these cleaned up and get them back to Mr. Rucker over there. So let's get started, and we'll just do some face grinding. I've already got the face grinding wheel on there for doing this face, and then when I switch over to doing angles, and we can throw this on there and get the angles at the same time. But we need a clean reference surface anyway, so if there's a ding or something, we need to be able to put it in the machine squarely this way so I can grind this accurately. So I need a point of reference, and that's just going to be both faces. So let's get going on these. Okay, and I just took them over to the lapping plate and cleaned them with some 600 grit paper. I just finished washing them, and they polished up really nice. That corrosion wasn't deep. A lot of it was just some grimy, gooey, like a cosmoline or a wax or something on it. So I think maybe they were protected. But they both cleaned up really nice. Let me slide this out of the way. And if they measure good, no need in grinding them. There's no sense in losing material. I'll move you guys right along with the indicator here. You know, if they measured nice and parallel, I don't see any reason to keep removing material out of it, take a chance of pulling the guy's name out of it, or make them any smaller than they need to be. So we got them lapped in and cleaned. Let's see where they're at measurement-wise. You know, if they're, this really isn't a measuring surface, but it'd be nice if it was nice and parallel. Okay, so your zero there. Oh, yeah, it's not great in that direction. Yeah, it'll take a little bit. A few tenths just to clean it up. So it is along this axis. It's not too bad. A couple tenths, but yeah, I'll go ahead and clean them up since they don't measure right. Let's see what the 45 looks like. Oh yeah, this is the skinny one. Yeah, it's moved. These are old. Steel will continue to move throughout its usable life. Might be wear, could be anything. We don't know how much these were used. Alright, so we'll just plop them down on the plate and dust them off. They're not going to take much, a couple tenths just to clean them up. And I don't know, that name is probably a good 10 or 15 thousandths deep there, so I don't think there's much chance of us getting into that. To be better safe than sorry, we'll flip, put the lettered side down, grind here till we've established a surface, a flat surface, flip again, and then the second grind always takes off less material than the first grind. So first grind, second grind. So let's go get these face ground. All right. Well, I thought it would look pretty cool if we made the grind adjacent to the hypotenuse, so I went ahead and set it up. I just keep a little, for setting parts up, if you want to use this outer extremity without doing a fence, I just made a little block here that I can set on the magnet and so I can parallel parts with this front edge. And that's just a good little tool, stays on my grinding bench all the time. So that's a good tip for you if you just want to line something up roughly. You know, this is nothing precision about it, but we just want the grind to be parallel with the hypotenuse. So let's run with this. We're going to come down and get a touch off going here. And like I say, this isn't going to be much of a grind. Of course the phone rings. Be right back. Alright, back from that. Gotta love telemarketers. Here's a trick for telemarketers. If you've got caller ID and it says Solar City on it and they're trying to sell you solar panels, pick up the phone and say, Solar City, how can I direct your call? If it says New Age Financing, pick up the phone and say, New Age Financing, how can I direct your call? No matter what it says on the caller ID, answer the phone the same way. Blows their mind every time. Okay, enough telemarketer tips. All right, we got a little bit of a touch off there. Let's fire her up and see if we can get a finish on that. We can probably do this in one pass. See how we do. Okay, well, we didn't quite get it all. I can see the old grinder marks were running this direction here, adjacent to this, or parallel to this large right angle. So we're going to need to come down just a tad more, maybe a tenth or two. It's not much. I think we measured a couple tenths over at the plate. But we're real close. So we do a little bit of down feed and we'll back up. Let me get the camera out of the way just a tad. You guys were bumping my coolant there. I don't necessarily need coolant on this job. As long as it's here, I'm going to run it just to keep the wheel clean. It helps keep the wheel clean. This part's thick enough where we really wouldn't worry about heat much. There's a few comments on the channel recently why I didn't use coolant on the vise that I did, and that was because it was such a robust part. I didn't have much worry about it getting hot. It was the mass of the part was pulling heat away from it as fast as I was generating it, so it worked out well where I really didn't need coolant, and it's more photo friendly and video friendly for that as well. As you can see, the coolant's getting in the way here already. So let's come down a couple tenths and work our way back across. That looks real nice. Now the beauty of parts that are on the surface grinder is I can go directly to the other side and not have to readjust my down feed or anything. Get a little goop off of here. Put my little gauge on here. Now, probably 2 or 3 tenths of down feed, and we're good to grind again. Now we're right back where we started on our height. You know, we're confidence is higher that we're right in there, so we're just gonna, you know, keep on trucking on this side. that 2/10, perfect cleanup. And like I was saying, you always take more out of the first side than you do the second side. That's why we did the lettering side down at first. But that thing should be nice and parallel now. Let's go check it. I mean, if it's kicking around on the mill and someone wants to use it to measure something or get something parallel, you know, they can rely on it. It's a constant width. So let's go over to the plate and have a look at it. Okay, well, this one's fresh off the surface grinder. We'll just check it for parallel. Like you say, when it comes to precision tools, you never know what people are going to use for a reference surface, so I just make sure everything is square and clean, and even my parallels I take and I'll oh, that's two revs. We don't want that. We only want one rev. There. Oh, that's better. Okay. Zero it up here. Okay, let's see how we do here. The old Boyer Schultz is holding a decent tolerance, that's for sure. Okay, so we got our faces ground on these big squares, and now it's time to do the 90-degree side. And you know, we're just going to go ahead and freshen up both sides while we're here doing this. I've got it clamped to a 90-degree block here. I cleaned these sides just on the lapping plate with a little bit of 600 paper, just to knock any high spots off and clean them a little bit. And now I got it clamped up against a clean granite block. And I'm just going to slide my toolmaker's vise in here and see if we can get a hold of it here. Just barely snug for right now. I'm going to take this Jorgensen clamp off and get my block out of the way. And now we've got an angle in the vise and use this as a reference surface. Now we can grind here, and we can also flip and grind here and grab our 90. So pretty simple to do. And we'll do the same thing on this big dog too. Do the same thing there, flip, flip. So let's get this over the grinder and get the 90 ground. Okay, we're back from the grind. Just did a grind here, flip, and a grind here. So these two surfaces are done. All that's left is to check them, and it's pretty easy to check. You can either check it in the vise, or we can use our angle block. Wow, I really got that tight. There it is. We can put it back on the angle block and take our Jorgie and get it just snug here. We need to find something to kind of square it up this way. That's not going to work. There we go. Now it's square this way. Now we can run a sweep across the top and see how level we got it. Or square, actually. Alright, that thing's within, it's got a little low spot in the middle, about 2/10 in the center. Sweep it again. There's 1/10 low. And it's high by a tenth, so that's plus or minus 1/10. 2/10 total error. All right, so that's pretty darn close to 90. The industry standard is 1/10 of a thou per inch for that's actually a grade A, or no, a grade B is shop grade. 1/10 per inch, and this is what is this? That's a good 4-inch is there, I believe. Yeah, that's 4 inches. So we'd be allowed 4/10 over this entire run for grade B. So we've far exceeded that. All right. So we're square. Now it's time to work on 45. Actually, before I do that, that would require a wheel change out. I'm going to go ahead and move on to this. And this is more the same. Plop it in here, 90 degrees. All right, so that's that'll be next, and we'll start working on some angles. Okay, so we're back from the grinder on this one for our 90. And we can check this one as well. These are some good looking squares. I like them. Keith, you want to sell them after I get done with them? You know, it's funny, I'd probably never do this for myself, but always seem to do stuff like this for other people, but I can never get around to fixing my own stuff up. Isn't it always the way? Okay, just going slightly snug there, and get it squared up here. Get our jorgy tight. Okay. Let's see what this one measures. Try to keep my fat head out of the way. Okay. Ooh, this one's on a rise. Maybe we didn't get that one in there flat or sitting up on something. This one's kind of bad. Back's clean. I don't think I had anything on here. Make sure my block's down tight. And we try again. Of course, I'm never going to hit back in the same place. It's just in a random spot on that angle block. Nope. Thing's out. Thou and a half. That's out of tolerance. Yeah, that's going to take a regrind. Okay, so this is high over here. So we're going to go plus 1.5 out here. So I know. Alrighty, back to the drawing board. Okay, well, we reclamped it in the toolmaker's vise, and remember we're 1.5 thou high over here when we were doing our measuring up against this block, and we're not going to regrind this surface. This is flat and true, and we know it's nice. We clamped it back to the block, put the toolmaker's vise back on it. Now, if I've got it in the vise correctly, I should see 0 here and 1.5 over here to do the grind, to make the correction. So let's go here. And let's see if we can get a good 0 that we're happy with. And now we should see a 1.5 thou rise across this sweep right here. And there it is. So now when we make our grind, that's going to come in flat, correction made. All right, so that's how you recover from a part that slipped, or a piece of junk under your device, or whatever. Whatever it takes to make your parts right. Always check your work. The smallest thing can make a huge difference. So let's go get a regrind on this. All right, we're back from our correction grind, and let's get our gauge loosened up here and ready to do our thing. Oops, wrong way. There we go. And now we should get a 0, reading all the way across. I haven't taken it out of the vise. It's right where it was when from the last time we had it up against the block. So let's run it across. We should see 0. And there we go. Okay, we'll double check our work. We'll clamp it back to the block and make another sweep on it and make sure it's it stayed there. We didn't have a piece of grit or something funny behind here, because now we've got the capability of throwing this angle off. So let's double check our work like that. Grab our Jorgensen clamp and do all that over again. Just like this. Okay, the Jorgie's tight. Get the vise loose. Vise out of here. And now we can do this over again. Okay, I think we're good. Alrighty, well that's 90. Okay, well we're back from the surface grinder, and we've ground our 90. We've made all our corrections, and we did some preliminary visual checks up against a granite block and some steel squares. But now our 90s are ground, and we want to check them. And I got you up on the... Alright, let me get you parked over here. Hopefully you can see that. Get a clean table surface here. And bring our part in. Here we got a good 0. And we're going to make our vertical sweep. Okay, that's pretty darn square. It's less than 1/10. It's about a 1/2 needle off, so pretty good. And that's on the hard side of the 60/30. Let's try our 90/45. See how we do there. And that is within 1/10 as well. So we're real close to square. Those are almost grade A right there. They're pretty darn square. All right, we can move on now to the to our angles and the hypotenuse on both of these guys. And our first one, I'm going to slide you guys over here. Our first one, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna show you how to grind an angle without having a sine plate on your on your surface grinder. I've got that nice 12-inch sine plate on there. But how would you grind a 45 without that? And this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take a square, one of the squares that I make, and I'm gonna drop it on top of this fixed jaw here. I've got a little fence right along here. I'll drop it on top of here. And then on this other fence over here on this other side, I'm going to drop Keith's square that needs to be ground and bring all that together. Make sure everything's sitting down where it needs to sit. And I'm just leaving the square in there. I'm not pulling it out at all. It's going to get crunched in there. Not going to hurt a thing. So this will be interesting to see how, so now we've got this fence up against the part, and we've got this fence up against the fixed jaw, thus holding it at 45. So let's go get our grind on right here, and plow that off of there, come back, measure it, and see how handy a Z-square really is.